you just come into marriage, and the first time you're knowing about anything about it is in the marriage. Yes, we say experience is the best teacher, but sometimes it's not always the case. Why wait for an experience when you can learn from people that have gone ahead of you? As a matter of fact, when the way they come like an avalanche sometimes. And if you're not mentally prepared for it, you could be thrown off balance.
Hi guys, so welcome again to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Oluchi, and I want you to join this beautiful family by hitting that subscribe button right now, and also turn on the bell beside it so that you'll be notified whenever I upload interesting content. To my returning subscribers, thank you very much for the massive support. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the comments. I see you all and I appreciate you. But guess what? Today I brought us an interesting topic. And you know, there is a level of knowledge that comes with experience. That's why I thought to bring us someone special. She's someone I am learning from, both in the medical profession and also when it has to do with relationship, marriage, godly parenting. So with me today is a beautiful woman. She's a Christian and she's happily married with 2 adorable kids. She's a medical doctor by profession with specialty in obstetric and gynecology. She's also the founder of the Unbooked Doctor, which is a non-governmental organization that reaches out to the unreached pregnant women with medical care and also the love of God. So let's welcome Dr. Lizzy. Welcome, ma.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
So you see, we have a lot for you today. So for you as a wife, a mother, that is also working to raise godly seeds, how has it been for you, this journey of motherhood? How has it been? Coupled with that you are a doctor, not just a doctor, O&G doctor.
Okay, first let me say thank you for having me formally.
Okay, ma'am.
I really appreciate this opportunity to have to talk, and to the YouTube followers, thank you for having me. Yeah, being a wife, being a doctor, being a mother, it's all about your passion. It's hectic. I will not lighten it. Yes, sure, it's very heavy. But first, you love your children, okay? So you don't want them to suffer, okay? So you give your best to them. Also, you're a wife, you got into marriage because you loved your husband, okay? So you also don't want that to suffer. And then importantly also, I'm in a profession that I love, okay? So I enjoy the work also. So it's about having a lot of things that I hold dear to me, around me. So it's, counting on my abilities, it's not very easy because it's really hectic. But considering the fact that these are things that I love to do, these are things that occupy a large place, okay? Of course, the Bible says where your treasure is, there your heart will be, okay? So my treasures, these things are my treasures, these things are things I love. So it comes off easily to do, but then even though it requires and demands a lot from me,
I know, like, they used to tell us sometimes that when you are considering marriage, also be sure, especially if you are getting married to someone that is not a medical personnel, you should talk with the person, let the person know that your work is demanding and all that, so that it doesn't get to affect the marriage and all that.
Okay, I think I have a plus in that because my specialty was, my husband assisted in me. He played a huge part in guiding me to the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology. So, okay, for me it was initially pediatrics, and then at some point it now went to ear, nose and throat, ENT. Okay, but then about the time when I was to write my primaries for the ENT was when I got married, and my husband was like, ENT, when you're done with your primaries, okay, you come back and decide what you want. And he was like, he was like, look into obstetrics, And pediatrics, those are areas where you can, you know. And I looked at it and I was like, ONG is one place that in my med school I really enjoyed, because pediatrics had been counted out because of my experiences during house job. Okay, so I was like, ONG was, yes, that was a place that I loved. Okay, and surprisingly, to confirm it, okay, I went for the primaries. Okay, I was even pregnant then, but it was just a shot. And it was interesting, as opposed to when I was preparing for ENT, where everything was abstract. Wow. Preparing for the primaries was easy. So I have a husband who
supportive,
who guided me in. So it's more like we chose it together. Yes. So whatever comes out of it, we bear it together.
Yeah, like I know, like it's very, like it's easier when the person understands and when the person is fully in support. We are talking about preparing for motherhood, and I know that this period we have a lot of messages that talked about how we can be helpmates, how we can prepare to be a wife and all those things, and it's very, very, very important that we learn all those things. But then a lot of persons don't even think about that parenting side of it and all that. Coming from your specialty, obstetrics and gynecology first, for a single person or someone that just got married, what will you advise the person?
Okay, yes. Singlehood and then crossing over to marriagehood. It usually comes with a lot of surprises. It usually comes with a lot of unexpected things. What will be my candid advice medically? Well, singlehood is a time when you're more of yourself. Okay, you think about yourself. You're not concerned about, as in there's no responsibility, not like you have other cares, of course, all right, but you're not burdened with anybody, like you must do this for me, you must do that. Okay, so but when it comes to motherhood, that is spelled out clearly. Now, medically, my candid advice to any single person will be that you should, one, be conscious of yourself. Okay? Be conscious of yourself. We have this attitude of, especially in the environment where we are, we are not medically inclined. We are not medically conscious of ourselves. And if there is any person that needs to be conscious of himself or herself, it's actually the female gender. Yes, because when it has to do with the context of marriage, in the environment where we live in, one very cardinal issue is the issue of childbirth. And well, because I'm opportune to be in that specialty, one of the things we know that is a very common occurrence in the gynecology clinic. As a matter of fact, if we see 100 patients, 50 will be for infertility. Okay? And even though we know that infertility is a shared responsibility between the man and the woman, even in the course of infertility medically, but in our environment, okay, the blame is always on the woman. Okay? So it's a general thing to, once a couple, the first thing is, okay, both of you are married. By the next 3 months, everybody's monitoring, and the monitoring is the woman.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So you want to see.
Mother-in-law.
Yes, everybody is monitoring. So what is happening? Why is your tummy not coming out and all of that? So, yes, there are some causes of infertility that could arise from the woman. So it goes to say that every woman, let me say this even before I continue. Most times, when the couple have not even given, like we said, they have not had any child, they will not ask the man what the problem is. Oga, waiting they happen. No, everybody will be asking, Madam, what is the problem? Okay? If they want to prefer solution, it is you they come and prefer solutions to. Okay? So it's important, even as singles, that you begin to find out how to, well, let me not say find out, but as much as possible, when you have any issue of concern, medical concern, it's important to seek the necessary help. Okay? medically. Don't need to wait till when you are married. The troubles have already started, and then you now begin to seek for help. Okay? Actually, most of the things, or some of the things that actually cause infertility would have started brewing up from singlehood. So it's important you get to know the things that could actually affect your fertility in the future, and then begin to sort them out. That's on the medical point of view. Okay, now let me just chip in that one very important thing that we do not take note of is infections. Okay, yes, you hear a lot of infection and staphylococcus everywhere.
Everywhere, like stuff.
Everything is stuff. Okay, but for us as gynecologists, everything will not be stuff. Okay, so it's important that if you find anything in your body that is suggestive of infection, you seek the necessary care, okay, from a qualified health personnel. Not just go to the counter and ask for medications.
And all those bosses that are saying stuff,
and then they give you medication, things that you don't know about. They actually worsen the condition. So it's important to seek help. Well, drifting a little from the medical aspects, in preparing for motherhood, you should also have some mental build-up for yourself.
Yes, and I think people don't even talk about that one.
Yes, it's not a common...
It's not common.
Yes, it's not something that we ready or we think about. Okay, but you need to be mentally prepared for marriage. It's not just because, oh, everyone is getting married and then it's my time, or it's my turn to get married, or I'm getting old, I need to get married. So all of that comes into play because
the responsibility, you need to be mentally ready.
Prepared for it. Okay.
I know, like in pregnancy, there are some complications that can arise as a result of the pre-pregnant state of the lady.
Very correct. Currently, medicine is moving to the point of lifestyle medicine, where we now talk about modifying your lifestyle, because it has been found out that with modification of lifestyle, you can actually curtail most of the non-communicable diseases, which are actually the things that are causing so much problems now, because there are no real cures for these things like the diabetes, hypertension, cancers, okay? But these are things that have come with lifestyle changes. The focus is drifting more towards lifestyle modification as a way of prevention of these non-communicable illnesses that have more like come to stay with us and do not really have treatments. Like you mentioned, obesity. Obesity is one condition that cuts across a lot of things. Okay, it affects a lot of things medically, such that and its effect is not like beneficial effects. They tend more to be more troublesome things they cause. Okay, it tends more to be more troublesome. So across board, we will see that as much as possible, lose weight. Okay, as much as possible, even for a woman that is getting pregnant with obesity, she's at risk of diabetes, she's at risk of hypertension, she's more at risk of these conditions. Okay, and it is even more difficult for us. It gives us more task. And then diabetes also, and hypertension. So yes, as a single woman who is preparing for marriage, even before you get there, it's important that you know your hypertensive status. Okay, you should know what your blood pressure is over time. Not like you go getting anxious with it and every time you wonder, oh, what's my BP? Oh, no, not that. But of course, intermittently, you could check your blood pressure. You could also check your sugar levels, okay? Because some people get to discover maybe for the very first time that in pregnancy, that their sugar levels are high, which is not very good. Diabetes is one condition that actually really has grave effects on the fetus. It's not a commonplace in our environment to talk about prenatal screening, okay? But it's a very vital part of medicine that we should be tending towards and encouraging. So because that's the prenatal clinic will actually give us the opportunity to screen out women who may have these conditions but will never be identified until they get into pregnancies. So it is important that you get to know your medical status even while you are single, at least intermittently. Then talking about the obesity, of course, you shouldn't add too much weight.
Yes, guys.
You know, the shawarma and all of that, pizza and all,
Like,
okay, they are our flesh. Everything you do should be with moderation,
yeah.
okay? And for a single girl, okay, you should aim to
Preconception
still...
care is not even what we practice here. Like,
Of course, we don't have it yet. We don't have it
yet.
yet in our environment, but it's something we should encourage, and
Yeah.
probably in the near future we should.
That's why we are doing this video, so that, you know, all these things don't become a threat in pregnancy.
Yes.
Okay,
course,
ma'am.
sure.
So you were talking about mental preparation. I know that aspect.
Yes.
Like,
yes, mental preparation is very important. Yes, when it comes to getting married, because marriage comes with a whole lot of responsibilities, and as a matter of fact, when the way they come like an avalanche sometimes. And if you're not mentally prepared for it, you could be thrown off balance. Okay, and in obstetrics we have what is called postpartum depression, and that comes with so much stress, the stress of having to deliver, with family responsibilities and a whole lot of duties. Okay, so I think that my candid suggestion to anyone who is single and will one day get married would be that, as much as possible, give yourself necessary exposures.
yes.
Okay, necessary exposures. I know that a lot of singles do not, you just come into marriage and the first time you're knowing about anything about it is in the marriage. Yes, we say experience is the best teacher, but sometimes it's not always the case. Why wait for an experience when you can learn from people that have gone ahead of you? Okay, so it's important that even as a single woman, okay, before you get to the point of being married, personally, I feel that if people have learned about this thing, it's easier to learn from those people that have, of course, been there before. Okay, so I think you can give yourself the necessary exposure. It helps prepare you. It helps walk you, whether consciously and unconsciously, into that place, so that by the time you are in the situation, okay, it's not so strange, and it's of course, you will have a wealth of knowledge to deal with it. Part of the things that mature people into taking responsibilities is exposure to those things. So, and it cuts across all facets of life. Okay, of course, if you have seen a situation once or twice, by the time you are left with that situation, it's no longer so new. That's why also people who now we're talking about ladies who have, of course, helped their parents or helped their elder ones to take care of their children. By the time they have theirs, it's a lot more easier. So I would, in preparing yourself mentally for this, give yourself a lot of exposure. So don't shy away from...
But this thing you said about helping your elder one, I remember that when my elder sister gave birth, I went for omugo, like normal the same, and
it was
like, when the baby is crying, I'm like, God, this baby just sleep, just sleep. And she had a toddler then, and I had to wake up early to prepare that one for school.
So somehow, haven't gone through all that experience, you have a mental picture of what you're expecting going into it. Okay, as opposed to someone who has never had that experience, or who has been shying away from that experience. There are some people who actually go to visit people who are giving birth, but you wonder whether they came to help you or they brought themselves to Ati. Okay, so those exposures are necessary, okay, before you get into it. So it's a whole lot of work to be done on yourself before you get into it, because yes, marriage is taxing. The whole motherhood process is a whole lot of tax, so you need to be... Personally, I think I loved children, okay, even though I didn't get to care for any one of my elder ones, but we had people bringing their children to, as a matter of fact, my mom loved her house filled up at every point in time. So when there was any working mother who was her friend, she would tell them, bring the child to the house. Bring the child to the house. And I have a daughter who likes children. She will take care. So, of course, I had that rapport. It doesn't go to undermine the fact that even when I got married, it wasn't easy. But at least it cushions the effects to a large extent. So it prepares you mentally and all of that, yeah.
Go for exposure. And if you have someone, if you have an elder one that, you know, just gave birth,
Yeah,
you can
need
go
some
for
help.
exposure. And then, what about books?
Oh, yes. Yes, books help. A lot.
But that experience.
But, yes, because let me give you an instance. Yeah. When I was younger, as a matter of fact, in my secondary school days, I loved relationship books. I have an elder sister who loved relationship books a lot. So she buys them in tones, more like. And it was so bad that my mom had to tell me, see, if I catch you with any book, okay, so what I'll do is, one I remember vividly is, when I'm reading Ababio, I put it in the middle. Ababio is a chemistry textbook. I'll put it in the middle once I see her coming. Okay, so once she's coming, I just turn to another page. So that's to tell you how much I loved reading relationship books. But, well, surprisingly, when you get into the field, to play the ball is a different one. It's a different ball game. But yes, it helps. Reading a lot of books, marriage books, helps a lot. Okay, I'm an advocate for it. Knowledge is one thing that anybody should keep having over and over and over and over again. And books are one way you can actually get knowledge. So it's a good thing to read, but I will not say books are the only thing that you should do in preparing for marriage, because the marriage is a whole different ball game. Okay, the knowledge you get from the books will help. Okay, and I would advocate that, of course, reading will help.
Yeah, and I read one book that talked about it was still this issue of, you know, motherhood, and they recommended that you should in preparing for motherhood, you should look for maybe your neighbor that just gave birth and just tell the neighbor, okay, just leave your house chores for me this day, I'm going to do it. Just use it to practice.
Yes.
That when you are done doing that, then go back and do the things you're supposed to also do for yourself that day. Then it will give you a picture of how it looks like.
Yes.
Just help that neighbor out like 2 days and see what it looks like.
That's the exposure.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the exposure. Because there's no way you would do that. And then when it comes to your time, you find it difficult. Because with marriage comes time management. Okay? With marriage comes your ability to give off of yourself. Okay? Because you can't go helping that neighbor when you're just thinking about all of yourself. Oh, I have this to do, I have this to do, I have that to do. Okay? But with motherhood...
And in marriage, you will still have all those things and still have the other one.
And you still have your children to take care of. You still have your husband. You still have to cook, your house chores to do. Okay? So those exposures help to prepare you, and it helps to give you a right mental preparation for the whole process.
I feel like as singles, we don't usually read parenting books like that. We get to read it when we are inside the marriage. Like, we focus more on being the helpmeets for the man. In terms of raising children, like, what advice would you give to people